Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be working in different parts of our garden, and we are going to be talking about one of my favorite fall tasks, and that is cutting back perennials. We are reaching that time of year where everything is starting to wind down, and as our gardens wind down, trimming some of your plants can give your garden a fresh start for next spring and even benefit the health of your perennials. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the benefits first, and then I'll show you which perennials to cut back and which ones to leave for the winter time. Now, before we go out into the garden, let's talk about the benefits of cutting your perennials in the fall time. First, it helps preventing diseases from overwintering on the foliage and then spreading in springtime. It's especially helpful to plants that are prone to things like powdery mildew. One of the plants that quickly comes to mind would be bee balm. And lastly, cutting back, it gives you a chance to tidy up your garden, which you know I love, especially for my OCD brain. The other benefit of this is you don't have to worry about cleaning up your garden so much in the springtime. I know, especially for me, I get super busy in the springtime, waking up our dahlias, getting our seedlings ready to come out into the garden. So I always feel like spring is always so hectic for me. So the more I can do now to prepare my garden for winter and spring, the better I'm going to be as a gardener in the springtime. Now let's talk about some perennials that will benefit from a good fall cutback. I typically start out with anything that's damaged or diseased. That will help me gauge which perennials I'm certainly going to start cutting back right now. Peonies are susceptible to fungal diseases, so it's good to trim them down and clean up around the area to prevent any diseases from spreading. I will typically let our foliage really turn brown and completely die back. This one is pretty gone. It's not going to benefit the plant too much more to keep it here. So I like to just come down to the soil, and we're gonna cut down at the very base and remove all of this foliage. Now, if anything was diseased or looked like it had powdery mildew, I would discard this completely. Don't try to compost anything that's diseased. Now, most of the peonies that I have in our garden are herbaceous peonies, and these are the ones that you do want to cut back in the fall time. I usually leave maybe an inch or two of the stems left. That way, when I come in and if I'm doing any fall planting, I'm not accidentally planting right over it or digging into this area because I know I have a peony there. You also want to be careful not to cut any new forming eyes that are coming up. So I just go down to the base, but make sure you don't go too much further down than this here. Now, peonies that still look green like this and don't have any diseases or damage, I will leave these on for a little bit longer until they brown up more. That way, we're still sending energy down to the plant. Next up, we have hostas, which slugs love to hide in hosta leaves, and they're such a snack for them. So I like to cut these all the way back in the fall time. You'll also notice as the season progresses, your hostas will turn translucent and just almost melt. So I like to cut them back now because it also gives me something to grip onto when I'm cutting back the foliage. Now, these are not all the way yellow quite yet, but they're pretty beat up. They're not really going to benefit that much more. I'll still leave a little bit of the stalk left. So if there is anything green down below, it'll continue feeding the plant. All right, much better. And like the peonies, I'll leave a little bit of the stalk left, especially some of these that are still green. These will continue sending energy down to the plant. Now, bee balm is another one that makes the cut. These are notorious for getting powdery mildew, so I like to cut these all the way back as well. Now, the ones I have here in my garden are being grown as annuals, so I'll actually remove the whole entire plant instead of cutting it down. Now, two other perennials that come to mind that I like to cut back are daylilies and phlox. Daylilies tend to get really mushy and gross during the winter time, so I like to give those a good cut in the fall. And then phlox is also another one that's very very susceptible to mildew, so I like to cut those back as well. Now, not all perennials need a fall cutback. In fact, some of them actually benefit from being left alone through the winter time. Typically, these are plants with sturdy stems that can provide beautiful winter interest and even be food and habitat for some wildlife. Starting out with coneflowers, these are fantastic for winter interest, and birds love the seed heads. I leave mine up until springtime. You can see that ours are still actually blooming and haven't really gone to seed quite yet. Some of them have, but the only time I actually cut mine back is if I know the seed heads are gone and the birds have gotten to them and they've completely turned black, then I will go ahead and cut them back. But I like to leave those through all winter. Similar to coneflowers are going to be rudbeckias. I like to leave ours on all winter long so the birds and beneficial insects can benefit from them, and then I will cut them all the way back in the springtime. Ornamental grasses is another one I do not cut back. Many ornamental grasses are stunning in the wintertime, so I leave them for that sculptural effect in the garden. They also offer a bit of winter habitat for some beneficial insects, so those are typically ones I do not touch. Some people do like to freshen up their ornamental grasses in the fall time. However, I love leaving mine up. A couple of others that I'd like to call out are going to be sedum autumn joy. Sedum's dried flower heads look so beautiful in the winter garden, adding height and texture. And yarrow. Yarrow stems stay upright and they look pretty through winter as well. So I like to leave those and not cut them back. Well, I don't know if you guys can tell, but the rain is definitely starting to pick up. But I did want to come out here and do this video and talk about the benefits of cutting back perennials in the fall time. Again, it's such an easy task that benefits your garden in so many ways. But of course, it's important to know which plants will thrive better when left alone versus the ones that you can get away with cutting now. And I wanted to do this video before we come in and do our major fall cleanup, where we're going to be cutting back a lot of these spent perennials. I think it's always a good topic to refresh and remind ourselves the benefits, the cons, what we can cut, what we should leave alone in the fall time. All right, guys, well, that will do it for today's video. I hope these tips were helpful and insightful for you guys, especially if you're a new gardener. And if you're a seasoned gardener, then I hope this was a good reminder for you to get out into your garden, get things tidied up so we don't have to worry about it in the springtime, and we can just focus on planting and all of the other fun stuff we love to do in the springtime. And I would love to know what type of gardener you are. Are you the type that likes to get things done in the fall time, get things tidied up for winter time, or do you like to sit back and relax and enjoy all of the beautiful fall colors and then get everything done in the springtime? Let me know down in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video and hanging out with me today in my garden, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.